Pilates YouTube channel. Please subscribe, give me feedback at the end, or a thumbs up or a comment. Thank you very much. So today we're going to work on some beginner Pilates exercises, some fundamentals. It'll be a short video, maybe 5, 6, or 7 exercises that you can just repeat. You want to do between 8 and 10 repetitions of each one. So we're going to get started. We're going to work on neutral spine, finding neutral spine, which is important for most every exercise in Pilates. So lie on your back, feet on the floor, and then just kind of put your fingertips right on the hip bones there. And I want you to imprint the low back, meaning press that spine into the floor. You have an imaginary marble that's going to kind of roll up your belly, and then you're going to tip your spine the other way, and the marble's going to roll down. All right, and then back the other direction. And repeat, marble rolling down. That way, marble rolling up this way. It's a gentle way to warm up the spine and to find neutral. So this is extension when you're kind of arching the back. This is flexion. One more in each direction. Then you're going to come somewhere in between. So if I just release my spine and relax, that's a neutral position. You kind of find a shape here, and your hands should be flat. You're going to have a slight bit of space underneath your back, just a tad bit. All right, so bring the arms to the floor. That's your neutral spine. We're going to start learning tabletop. So one leg comes into tabletop. Your shin is parallel to the ceiling, and then the other leg comes up. You're squeezing your knees together, and you want to point your toes. So that's tabletop. We use this position a lot in Pilates. All right, so bring the feet back down again to that position. All right, and then lifting back to tabletop. And bring the feet back down. And one more time. You can feel the lower abdominals turning on. All right, so we're going to hold that tabletop, squeezing. And you're going to lower one foot to the floor. So I'm going to feel that in the deep low belly. Lift that leg back. Lower the second side. So I'm moving from my hip joint, keeping the shape of my knee the same, moving from the hip joint. All right, low belly warm up. Good. You can also do the opposite of this, where you have your feet on the floor. I will show you. Your feet start on the floor, and you lift this way, just bringing that leg to tabletop. And that's another way to do this exercise. So a couple more toe taps, relaxing the shoulders, and one more on each side. All right, and then you bring one foot down at a time. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is learn about flexion of the upper back. So we're going to do what is called chest lift. So hands come behind my head. I'm in neutral. I'm going to lift the head, neck, shoulders. My elbows stay wide. And now I'm in flexion of my upper back. Then I inhale, lower down, exhale, breathing out through the mouth, in through the nose. And again. So your head is resting in your hands, so you don't cause any tension in your neck. 2 more times. So you feel the neutral spine go away a little. When you lift your head, you feel your back flattening into the mat a bit. And then when you lower your head, you'll feel that neutral spine a little more. One more. And then we're going to add a little bit of rotation. So rotation, I'm going to stay up in that position, and I'm going to rotate once to each side. I'm kind of opening that elbow out on the side I'm turning to. Second side. And come back to the start. And exhale. Rotating to one side. Leave your elbows wide. Good. 2 more times of rotation. Exhale. And you're in neutral, and you want to avoid squeezing your glutes when you do this. Good. One more. which is a really important exercise to open the hips. So my feet are going to get pretty close to my bottom, and they're lined up with my sitting bones, so not too wide. I'm going to spread out my collarbone. I'm going to find that imprint where my marble is rolling this direction, lift the hips. Now you're pressing into all four corners of your feet, and I lift up my hips, pull my belly in, and send those knees away from my hips. Taking a breath and then lower down again. Getting a cramp in my hamstring, so repeat, imprint. Belly in, knees are lengthening away from the midline. Pressing the big toes into the mat, lower down. And again. I'm cramping. Yeah, nobody's perfect, right? Lower down. And again. Bridge, good. You want to really feel the glutes and hamstrings turn on. All four corners of the feet active. 2 more times. Imprinting. And you're articulating your spine when you bridge, meaning I'm rolling down one vertebra at a time, and I release my spine to neutral, and then I imprint and I lift up my spine one vertebra at a time, and roll it down one more time. Good, and you can always hold that bridge and kind of get yourself organized. Roll lower it down. All right, pull the knees in, stretch that low back for a minute. And bring those hands behind your thighs. You're going to roll yourself up. All right, so we're going to go onto our bellies for a little swan and a prep for that, which is called rocket. All right, make sure I'm in the camera here. All right, so rocket, one of my favorite exercises. You're going to lie down, your legs are hip width distance. Let your arms be at your sides. Your nose is right on the mat. And on the exhale, you're going to start to lift your head, lift your chest, plant those hips and pubic bone into the mat, lift the arms. Your head stays in line with your spine. Reach the fingertips back and lower yourself down. And lift again. Arms are a little higher than the hips. And lower down. So remember, it's one thing at a time. Nose lifts, head, shoulders, chest, arms. Press the hips and pubic bone into the mat. Reach the fingertips back. 2 more times. Head lifts, shoulders, chest. Anchor those hips. Lift the arms, reach back. Good, once more. And you're not really squeezing your glutes deliberately, but they'll probably turn on a little. Lower down. Okay, so we're going to go into a little swan or sphinx pose. So my hands are going to be wider than the mat because that works a little bit better for my back. And I'm going to press the arms into the mat, lifting up into my sphinx pose. If you want to come in a little bit on the outside edge of the mat, that works too. And then lower yourself down. So I have to adjust my elbows a little bit each time so that my shoulders stay stable. Good. 2 more. Pressing into the forearms. Still anchoring the hips and pubic bone into the mat. 1 more time. All the way up. There we go. All right, so you're going to sit into child's pose. Get an opposite stretch of that back. And we're going to work on a little side body next. So we're going to do mermaid. This is an exercise that's done on the reformer and the Pilates chair. So it's important to move your spine in all directions. So we've done flexion, extension. Now we're going to do lateral. We've done rotation. So I'm sitting this way, and I'm going to lift my right arm or left, whatever way you're facing, up and over, and I'm going to come down onto the opposite forearm and stretch over. push into that hand and forearm. Come back up, do an opposite stretch. And you want to imagine your front of your body is in line. So if you imagine you're pressed up against a wall or something while you're doing this, stretch over again. Then you'll keep your front body in alignment, if that makes sense. Good, one more time. Reaching over. And you try to slide those shoulders away from your ears so you have good shoulder stability. All right, 4, we're going to do 4. Reach over and push it up. This is a nice prep for side bending. All right, so you'll just switch the legs around. Opposite stretch. So I'm going to reach up and over, down on that opposite forearm, pushing up, and get an opposite stretch. There you go. And again, and 2 more. And then we're going to do a plank, which is not always a beginner thing, but I can show you different modifications and how to get into a plank properly. All right, now, the way I teach planking is you want to get on all 4s, okay? So if you're really a beginner and you want to practice just keeping your knees down and coming into a plank like so, where my back is still at an angle and I'm kind of imprinting my spine a little bit, all right? So I teach it this way instead of down on the elbows. Otherwise, you're going to send 1 foot back, come forward a little more, 1 foot back, and then the second side, and then you're in a plank. It's a real simple way to get into plank. You keep your head in line with your spine, slide the shoulders back, squeeze your thighs, and then you'll bring 1 foot down or 1 knee down at a time. If you want to repeat that, stretch out the opposite leg, and then the second leg. Head's in line with your spine. Make sure your head doesn't drop down. 1 knee down at a time. And do that again. And 1 knee down at a time. And other side. All right, and if you have wrist issues, you can always come onto your elbows. All right? And it's kind of the same thing where you'll just lift the knees and you're on your elbows and you're in that plank. And then bring 1 knee down at a time. And then lift elbows. 1 more time. All right, and then sit in a child's pose. Bring those knees in, sit back. All right, so those are some basic Pilates beginner exercises, maybe not so much for the plank that I did last, but you can start on those, and then I will keep building on this video each week so that you can learn more and more about each exercise. So thank you for watching. See you next time.